Okay. In the previous days, we learned like more like text-based things. Over here, I'd like to touch on this piece from Kook, but I really want to talk about it a little bit in relation to several things. This particular Lag B'Omer is coming up. We'll talk a little about that. Okay, let's just read it a little bit. Okay? It's like this. Moshe Rabbeinu. You see that? You see where it says Moshe Rabbeinu? Kuf Nun Zayin, yeah. Moshe Rabbeinu kolel hu kah nishmot Yisrael mitzad HaTorah, u'Mashiach hu kolel otam mitzad atzmam mitzad machshavtam shel Yisrael hakodemet lakol. So there's two characters here. There's Moshe Rabbeinu and there's Mashiach. So what he's explaining is what are these two? What's their two roles in history? It's like this. So Moshe Rabbeinu, it says in Chazal that he like includes the whole people in a certain way, and therefore we start with the ego when the people, Moshe's on top of the mountain and Hashem tells him go down because the people messed up. It's really the Rashi says it's really Hashem's telling him, listen, go down. If they messed up, you're nothing. Meaning you're totally bound up in them. You're the leader, so you're really them. Whatever they're doing, it's you, and vice versa.
No, not to digress, but it feels like Hashem should bear some responsibility too. Moshe and the people are his children too.
Okay, I'm sure. And he does, between him and himself. Now he's speaking to Moshe. So he says that Moshe includes all the souls of the Jewish people, mitzad HaTorah, having to do with the Torah, meaning that's really the way he connects to all the Jewish people. He's a teacher, Moshe is a teacher, and he's teaching for all the Jewish people. So everyone's connected to him through the Torah. Okay, but that's the connection. Okay? On the other hand, he says Mashiach's connection with everyone is mitzad machshavtan shel Yisrael hakodemet lakol. It says in the Midrash that when God created the world, he was thinking and he's saying, "Should I create a world?" And he says, the created world will be Jewish people who will serve God and to do mitzvot. And he says, "Okay, so let me create a world." So in that sense, that's something that comes before the Torah, right? Because
I'm sorry, the connection with Mashiach?
Yeah, I'm saying, again, meaning this idea of Yisrael alu b'machshava. That's what it says. That the Jewish people have been thought about prior to creation. Meaning, so that expresses the idea that it's not only about the Torah; it's just about existence. These people need to exist. Okay, and he says Mashiach's connection is more on that wavelength. It's not so much connection to the Torah; it's just connection straight to the people, right? Now, umitzad ha'pnimiyut. ומצד הפנימיות הלא נשמתם של ישראל הוא שורש התורה ופנימיותה, והתורה בשביל ישראל נבראתה. So he says, in a really deep way, the souls of the Jewish people are really the source of the Torah. Like, not meaning the Torah was made for these souls. It's a very opposite way of thinking. I usually think with people, so now we have to make ourselves, connect ourselves to the Torah to get, to get to the right place. But he said, in a deeper sense, it's really the opposite. Really, our souls which are very, very holy, and the Torah is made in order for them to be able to be themselves. Okay, so.
If there weren't people, would there have been Torah?
No, obviously not. Obviously, it's connected. I mean, it's all part of the same thing. Now, al ken v'gava ma'od remember Moshe, remember Mashiach Gamba Moshe. The Chazal say that there's a verse about Mashiach and that he will be very, very high. And then the Midrash says he'll be higher than Moshe Rabbeinu. So what does it mean he'll be higher than Moshe Rabbeinu? Because of this. Because somehow Mashiach has a connection to the soul, to the essence of the soul, that's higher. Now, on the other hand, with regard to Torah, he's below Moshe, meaning that there's something that's the opposite. Meaning, with regard to Torah, so then Moshe is the Rebbe, and in that sense, Mashiach is below. But in another sense, he's higher. Okay. We'll soon try to get to what he's trying to say. You know, he's using a lot of symbolic terminology. מצד גדולת ערכה של נשמת משיח הכוללת את עצמיות שורשן של ישראל, אין שום חוצפה יכולה לפגוע בקדושתו. והיא בזה מתעלם מגילוי התורה שהיא צריכה דווקא בושה, שהיא הפך החוצפה כדכתיב במתן תורה, כי לבעבור נעשות אתכם באלוקים, ועבור תהיה יראתו על פניכם לא תתחתו, ודרשו חז"ל זו הבושה. Now, there's a word here, chutzpah and busha. These are two opposite things. Chutzpah is chutzpah, and busha is shame or modesty or something the opposite of chutzpah. Now, it says in the giving of the Torah, the Torah says, God is revealing himself in this way to you in order that his fear should be on your face and you shouldn't sin. Right? You're familiar with that pasuk? Bernhard, you remember that verse? What is it? You remember that verse about God's fear should be on your face?
On your face?
You shouldn't sin. You remember that one?
No.
Anyway, but the point is that what we see, there's an intrinsic connection between receiving the Torah and humility, submission, modesty. Okay? And it says Mashiach's path is different. But basically, as you probably can tell, he's painting a picture of two alternative paths of Jewish life. You know, one is represented by Moshe, and one is by Mashiach. So he's saying is the Torah way is more connected to busha. You can be humble, you accept the mitzvah. And with regard to Mashiach, we see the opposite. The Chazal say that before Mashiach comes, chutzpah yasgei, which means there will be a lot of chutzpah. Chutzpah will succeed.
There's something called holy chutzpah.
So that's where he's getting. So now he's getting to that. Right? So he's saying
there's both chutzpah and the opposite. There's the positive side and then there's the shadow side.
Yeah.
One question: what is the chutzpah?
In what? Okay, so we can give some examples. But Mashiach mimoav kaati dechatzifa v'amra me'av. It says, the story with the daughters of Lot, right? They were together in the cave, and then they both had a son, right? Both sisters, the daughters of Lot, have a son, both of them from their father, and the older one names her son Moab, and the younger one names her Ammon. Okay, Moab means from the father. She just gave him that name. So
that's chutzpah.
That's a chutzpah. It's like you give your son. Okay, well, it's bad enough that it happened. You have to give him a name for the rest of his life. Like this is pretty.
Well, just the act that they committed was chutzpah.
Yeah, but this is more. I mean, there's one thing doing that. Another thing is actually announcing it.
And what's the other one's name?
Ammon.
Which means.
I thought Am. It's like from our nation, our people. ולא די שלא פגמה בנשמתו, שהיא מלאכתו, מואב סירחסי, we'll skip that, ועקבות דמשיכה חוצפה יעסגה, ולא תוכל כלל להמעיט את השפעת קדושתו. Okay, so basically he's giving a whole bunch of lists, a list of sources to back up this idea. But you're asking, what does it mean, chutzpah? He means in general attitude towards life. Is the attitude of submission, or is the attitude of, bursting forth? And he's pointing out that if we look through the history, and a lot of things which are connected to the Mashiach have an element of chutzpah in them.
Well, even with what we were reading with Ruth, so Ruth laying down
it's also
by,
exactly
Boaz is chutzpah.
Right, that's right.
That she would go out and walk down by feet and cover his feet.
You're not right. Not even asking. Yeah. And he also says over here an idea that somehow the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah is sort of more connected to the chutzpah aspect than the Torah Shebachtav. Torah Shebachtav is more like a passive thing. You receive the Torah. The Torah Sheba'al Peh is creation of Torah that the sages do. That's already more inside of chutzpah. Like, yes, we're going to explain. We're going to say what this means. We're going to say what the halacha is.
It's chutzpah to feel that you can interpret.
You can interpret. I can explain what this means. Now he says, he goes over here, talks about Kabbalistic ideas. He says that there's something called Zihara Ilah Da Adam Harishon. This is a Kabbalistic idea. I don't know exactly what it means, but it means the supernal shine of Adam. And the Kabbalists described it, the soul of Adam Harishon was like the supernal shine before he messed up. It was something way above anything we know in this world. And he says, in that soul, Moshe and Mashiach were one. And there was this harmony between this humility of receiving the Torah and the chutzpah of Mashiach. It's like the whole idea of Mashiach is a chutzpah. It's like to come forth and fix the world. It's like bust out and like do what you need to do, And he says, but then somehow the world fell to a place where there's the conflict between these two streams, and he says that's what you see. That's why Moshe, he's separated from his wife, and that's an expression of this humility of like holding back. There's something about holding back. It's like Moshe is like the symbol of the Torah. So he has to like be with preshut. He has to be like holding back, not totally flowing out. And he says that's really the story with Aaron and Miriam, who in the Torah says that they were speaking about that. Like they felt maybe it's not the right thing. They're really dealing with this tension. Is it just about the busha, or is there a chutzpah aspect also? Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing because he goes on and on to explain like, all the stories of Moshe Rabbeinu has to do with that.
But him separating from his wife was an example of him. It's busha, not.
It's not.
He could have had the chutzpah. He could have been the leader and still been.
Right. No, maybe could that. Right, but could be that was right for him at that time. Meaning he was. He was focusing very much on this idea of busha, of humility, and holding back. Okay, I'm not going to read this piece inside, but the point is that what's the Kook trying to say? That it's this dichotomy, this tension is something which is always going on. On one hand, our service of Hashem is something humble. Sometimes something we're holding back, we're controlling ourselves, but that's the important part of what we do. On the other hand, there's that part where we feel no, the right thing is the opposite. The right thing is really to express yourself totally and to push forth and not be embarrassed, not be afraid, and all types of great things can come out of that. And what he's saying is that the process of coming towards Mashiach is creating a harmony between those two things. And really, I mean, again, Kook was talking about this during contemporary times when things are happening. It's the tendency of people coming back to the land. Right? The Jews are coming back to the land, and that's very much connected to this thing. Land is. It was first of all it was chutzpah to say, oh, we decided we're gonna do this. Yeah, we're not gonna ask for permission. We're just gonna do it. That's a chutzpah, and it worked so far, to some extent. But also more deeply, it's when you come back to the land, we definitely have to deal with these questions. Being connected to the land, being rooted, naturally brings up the questions of how do I deal with my body? How do I deal with all the forces of life that are asking to be expressed? And there needs to be like a fixing over there. And I definitely think it's happening here in Eretz Yisrael. There's a lot of people are asking these questions a lot. How do I connect my service of God and my spirituality with my body, with reality, with my creative forces which I want to express with art, music.
In the early days, it was the settlers were not, were more secular.
Yeah, but now we're all here, and now we're trying to make some sort of harmony, and it's a question, and some people go too far this way, and some people go too far that way, and I just feel that's like there's a big issues today, if a person goes out to nature and starts walking around for a long time, and they're used to being in a place of a lot of thinking, a lot of thoughts about things, and a lot of philosophies, something happens there that's not like that. You start realizing, wow, there's a world here that's really powerful, really strong, really beautiful, and like I'm walking around with a bunch of things in my head. It's like, it's something not totally harmonious there. You know what I'm saying? And then you need to say, what does my natural self say?
No, not to digress, but that's what it feels like for me. That you can be if you're in, there's a cloistering when you're in Jerusalem, and it's one part of Israel, but there's a much bigger part of Israel.
Yeah.
That people tend to stay in Jerusalem. But Israel is bigger than just Jerusalem. You need to be able to.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's totally healthy just to be in Jerusalem. It may not. It's not totally healthy just to be in the country either. It's really you need to merge both to some degree.
Kook himself, he had a lot of opposition from religious people. Like they thought he's going too far. He's going with the secular people, and one of the biggest things they were angry at him about was he had some sort of statement like praising people doing sports in Israel. And he said, "Oh, it's really, really holy thing." What are you talking about? Sports
This is when he was chief rabbi.
Yeah, the sports are holy, and he was like saying, yes, for us now, for the Jewish people in this stage of history. Like, coming back to connection with the body is like a big thing. It's like we haven't been doing it.
The pendulum swings broadly.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Lag BaOmer also, and I think is connected to this. So Lag BaOmer is the celebration of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the Zohar and the Kabbalah. And one of the big pieces, really, okay, the Zohar is a humongous book on the Torah. Not really every part of it's connected to the parsha it's talking about, but there's certain sections of it, something called Idra Rabbah. Okay, Idra is a goren. We were studying before Megillat Ruth. Boaz was in a goren, was in a silo, and there's something called here the Idra Rabbah, which is a description of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his students going out to the field and making a symbolic type of meeting. So it's like they're learning Torah, but it's like not only learning, they're doing something. They're creating some sort of tikkun. Okay, so and then Rabbi Shimon teaches them a whole big teaching about the basics of Kabbalah and all that. Now he says like this. He says,
this is after his 13 years in the cave.
Yeah. So it describes over here, you have all the students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, all sitting in the field, and he says, everyone put their hands in, to Rabbi Shimon, like putting their hands in together like a football huddle, and they're saying, okay, now we have to teach them Torah, and he says, he gives some introductions, but then he says, Eit la'asot la'Hashem, this is a time to do for Hashem, and then it says, they say, Anan klal dekola, we are the klal, the gathering of everything. Meaning, what they're saying is that us gathering together, we're affecting the whole world. We're saying, we're making it together, bringing the world together, and that Vayishtiku, they were silent. And Shamu Kal, also they hear these voices, hear these sounds, and everyone's like getting really, really scared. And so what's the sound? The sound of this heavenly being is coming to hear what they're going to say. So Chadir is Rabbi Shimon. Shimon was happy. Amar, he said, Hashem Shemati Shimacha Yareti. He quotes from the prophet Kook. Okay, he's one of what's called the 12 minor prophets. Kook, and he says, first like this, God, I've heard about you, and I've feared. Okay, meaning Kook is describing the situation of the fear of Hashem. It's awesome. So the Shimon says, Hatam Yahu tu l'mehavi dachil. So there, it was right to be afraid. Anan b'chavivut Italian milta. Us, we have to do with love. And for us, it's about love. Ichtiv ahavta Hashem Elokecha, you will love Hashem your God. Ichtiv mehavat Hashem etchem. Ichtiv ahavti etchem, meaning he's sort of posing himself versus the prophet Kook. He's saying that, yeah, they were afraid, but we are into love, which is a expression of saying, in these teachings of the Zohar, there's sort of a move towards of service of Hashem of love, and that's one of the big ideas of Shimon Bar Yochai and Lag BaOmer. So this celebration of a loving kind of Avodat Hashem, and what does this have to do with the content of what he teaches? So the Kabbalah is very huge, but one of the things about it is that we have Shir Shir, right, which talks about a loving relationship, and it's very physical. It's very physical descriptions. So in Chazal, the commentaries are very allegorical. It's like talks about the relationship between the Jewish people and God, but it's very allegorical and it's very like abstract. So it makes it very abstract. Now the Zohar also is abstract, very abstract, but somehow it returns to the text of Shir Hashem, and the Zohar teaches about Shir Hashem all the time. It's all about this connection, and particularly this teaching which he taught after this meeting was anthropomorphic description of Hashem. Meaning, it's very strange if you're not used to it, but it talks about a face, a divine face, and his eyes, and his nose, and his mouth, and his hair, and there's a beard, and all these things are obviously metaphors, but nevertheless, this is the way it's taught. He's teaching them to connect to Hashem as a person, and at the same time be conscious that it's not literal, but it's again the Shimon's teachings is trying to bring back this feeling of love, which is when you in front of somebody you can love them, when it's just frightening and Ein Sof and infinity, it's hard to love. Like there's nobody there, So to really, the Kabbalah really was trying to teach people to be able to express this idea of love versus just fear. And
is this connected to the Kook?
No, that's not I want to say. That's in some way it is connected because obviously this idea of busha and modesty is connected to a little bit this idea of fear. Fear that yes, I need to make sure I do the right thing. That's true. But the idea of chutzpah is also related to this feeling of ahava. Ahava is like, I am expressing myself. That's what ahava is. I express my love. It's not holding me back. And that connects to the chutzpah. But the thing is, obviously, it needs to be done the right way.
The chutzpah is to have an anthropomorphic view of Hashem.
100%, right. And it's even chutzpah to talk about loving Hashem all the time. That's also a type of a chutzpah. Like who are you? Like you're so full of love. There's an element that could be. It's good. No, there could be an element there of chutzpah, like putting yourself out there. Like are you sure you really mean what you're saying? And
can you read how is that the section where it describes Hashem?
I'll give you one example. It's really long. It's really long and very, very esoteric. He says the eyes of this head are white. This is different than all other eyes because there's no covering on the eyes. There's no eyelids, because it says the guardian of Israel doesn't sleep. In general, it keeps on talking about imagery of overwhelming kindness, overwhelming compassion that just pours out. All these different parts of the face are all symbolizing that. It says, it's pretty esoteric. I mean, it's hard for me to just take out pieces of that without, Which is even describes this description of hair. The hair is flowing down. It's something very much about flowing. It's like divine love is flowing down and flowing down and flowing down. It's like it's setting this distinction between between the higher expression of God, which is like this, and a lower expression of God, which is more in the world, and is judgment, and you get punished for things doing wrong. And this revelation of Rishon B'chai is saying, but there's something which is above that also. Behind the face that judges, there's another face that it's full of compassion. It's all about expressions of compassion. Now, I'm just going to talk about historical events that that took place as in reaction to the Zohar or because of the Zohar. It's interesting because the Zohar taken by itself can be very, very passionate and can really go off, and that's what happened it was about 300, 400 years ago. There was after the Shabtai Tzvi, who was he said himself as Mashiach, and then he converted to Islam, and his movement sort of continued underground. But there was another movement called the Frankist movement, which was even crazier. What you said?
No, it sounded like that was after Akiva.
Shabtai Tzvi was for about 300 years ago.
Right, but there were some people that followed him that.
Well, you're thinking of another story. It's a story of Bar Kochba. Bar Kochba was after the destruction of the Second Temple, and they lived in the city of Beitar, and they had a rebellion against the Romans. And the Gemara says that Rakiva thought that maybe Bar Kochba will be Mashiach. It's interesting because actually Kook actually quotes that story in the end of this piece. And he says that he essentially mentioned this thing Bar Kochba, and he said, why Bar Kiva chose Bar Kochba, even though the Chazal say he wasn't didn't seem like a particularly holy person. He was like a warrior, but like Bar Kiva saying that he felt like he's holy. Something very, very looking to the essence of the soul, not so much outer expressions. And so this is later. This is about 300 years ago. And basically, it's this guy named Yaakov Frank. He started his own little cult, and they were very into Zohar, and they were tripping on this really hard. And eventually, they said, "Oh, we only hold the Zohar. We don't hold anything else." And they called themselves the Contra Talmudistim. They actually went to the Christian church and said, "Oh yeah, we don't hold these Jews. They're bad. They're Talmudists. We have the right thing." And there was this public debate between the Frankists and the traditional Jews. But the Frankists, over time, they got really, really nuts, and they started having these orgies and having this whole wife swapping thing going on, all in the name of bringing Mashiach, and it really got really messed up.
This is where the Kabbalists who say you don't need to be Jewish comes from, but there was a split in terms of them saying that you could be.
Yeah, it's really. You could be Kabbalists. Why really promiscuous? But the point is that these guys are taking the chutzpah all the way. It's like chutzpah means I do whatever the hell I want. That's not the type of chutzpah we're talking about. It's talking about this managing these two, the chutzpah of Mashiach and the humility of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's like, if you want to read more about it, it's like there's this Isaac Bashevis Singer story. It has a whole story about this whole town, how the whole town has been ruined by these Frankist people. It's like, it was pretty. Now, it was interesting, but also as far as as far as the Jewish community is concerned, it was very destructive. It seems like things are falling apart, people losing their faith, losing their, being really disillusioned.
Yeah, but this too was divine providence.
That's right. So just to wrap it up, What's the solution? How can you take this way of chutzpah and still know that you're going in the right way? So one of the most common things, or words in the Zohar, is the word brit, which means a covenant. And the Zohar always talks about the holiness of the covenant. There's all types of covenants. There's a covenant a husband and wife have with each other. There's a covenant that the Jewish people have with God. And there's a covenant that the Jewish people have with each other. The covenant is all over the place. But the Zohar sees this idea of covenant being sort of the protection from these problems. Meaning, if I'm teaching you to try to express everything you have inside, all the power, all the push for life. So how do I know that it won't go bad? So the covenant is really something which protects that. It's like, for example, I have a husband and wife are committed to each other. So that commitment creates that, like what will go on between us will be amazing. Will be holy, and it's not going to go all types of egotistical, weird, dark places. It's the same thing with our commitment. When Jewish people commits to Hashem, like we're committed. So then that commitment sort of creates room for self-expression, because we know there's a protection there. We're expressing ourselves within that brit.
It's chutzpah within the brit.
Yeah, chutzpah within the brit. That's sort of, every person got to figure out what that brit is for. And I think also every person has their brit. Meaning, depending on what their position in life is. A person's a leader of a community. He has like a brit with his community, meaning he can't do things that a regular person would be able to do. Even though he said to himself, "What's wrong with it? Hey, everyone does this." No, but people are looking at you. So you're in a covenant with people. So you have to respect that. It's sort of in the Zohar also the word brit is very much connected to tzaddik yisod olam. That tzaddik is the foundation of the world. So it's this idea of foundation. A brit is a foundation, meaning it's a starting point. I'm not sure if this.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I mean, normally when you reference brit, it's Brit
Milah.
Right.
That's a physical manifestation of it. That we have a covenant that's physical, but that's only the physical Brit Milah is only an expression of the idea. It's an idea of a connection,
Right, but it's also, a lot of the boundaries are related to sexual energy. It seems like.
That's the thing.
The strongest. Bretzloff's or.
That's also has to do with it. What I'm saying is that because we want to be able to express ourselves fully in a good way. So therefore, that's obviously why sexual issues are going to be so tied up with it, because that's where there's so much energy. And it's
So Rav Kook in essence is really bridging. It seems bridging the worlds together, and it's sort of encouraging the not being too shy, but then meeting the boundaries. It's too expansive, but within boundaries.
Yeah, it's the problem with the Kook often is that he's not giving us specific enough instructions. He's just giving us the expressionist painting of where this is going. But I think it's still valuable to be able to think in these categories.
Let's bridge the secular world and the religious world. It's interesting. It's all within the times are. So he was in the 1900s when the sort of the Zionist movement was taking place, and there was this tension between the secular.
Yeah, 100%.
That we're really seeing the sort of manifesting greatest, sort of the highest point of it.
What, the conflict?
Yeah.
Yeah, conflict. I mean, conflict in a social level is a negative thing. You know, it's bad people fight with each other. But as far as clarification of ideas and clarification of what's right and what's wrong, so conflict can be a good thing. You know, because your different ideas are fighting with each other, and it helps us figuring out where we lie. You know.
A colleague used to say, "You need tension to build bridges. Without tension, you can't have a bridge.
Suspension bridge.
Well, and you can't have a bridge without tension.
Yeah.
So, if it's all easy, then it's too easy.
Yeah.
You have to have this push and pull.
Yeah.
And then it's all about balance.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you make a fire on Lag BaOmer.
So the fire commemorates.
It's like a candle, you know. It's like you have a candle near neshama. It's like a big one.
But that's it's all. But as I understand, Lag BaOmer is two things.
It's two. Yeah.
It's Shimon Bar Yochai, but it's also celebrating the stopping of the.
Right. So the stopping of the students of the Rekiva is also part of it, but that itself wouldn't have made such a big party. No, I'm just saying historically, the celebration of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and of Lag BaOmer historically developed here in Israel, particularly when people used to go to Meron. That's really what made it.
So it's more the major part.
No, I'm saying I don't know if it's more major, but as far as like the celebration part, it's more connected to that.
He said celebrate like that.
Yeah, it's anyway. So yeah. Okay, so what niggin comes out of this?
It needs to be something celebratory.
Celebratory.
That we can build these bridges.
Yeah.
We can have chutzpah, but with the right boundaries.
Oh yeah, yeah, da da la 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 la. Ay ay la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Thank you.